Welcome back to ADHD Whiskey. If you're new to the channel, my name is Matt. It definitely feels like I should have my Whiskey of the Year video out, but before I finalize that list and release that video, there are a couple other bottles that I need to taste and go through with a fine-tooth comb. One of them back here, a Van Friggin' Winkle. And this bottle that I just received via Brad from Iowa. This is what we are tasting and reviewing and scoring today. It's Toppling Goliath Whiskey Co. First Edition Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, finished in port barrels. America. Today's video is brought to us by our great friends over at ZBiotics. ZBiotics is the world's very first pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Little known fact, when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. And according to people much smarter than me, it's that byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics creates an enzyme in the gut that breaks down that toxic byproduct and stops problems before they start. ZBiotics is super easy to use. You just grab a ZBiotics, shake it up, put it down the hatch before you start drinking alcohol, and that's it. ZBiotics takes it from there. That's why ZBiotics claims to be the first of many good decisions. When I go on barrel picks or do a larger sampling of these delicious whiskeys, when I have a ZBiotics on board, I'm confident that the next morning I'm gonna feel my best. So start the new year off right. Click on my link in the description below. Go to zbiotics.com/ADHD or scan this QR code on the screen. Use code ADHD at checkout and you'll save 15% off your first order of ZBiotics. Thank you so much, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this video, and thank you, PhD scientists, for getting down to the nitty-gritty of things that are making us feel shit. This Toppling Goliath Bourbon Whiskey I reviewed blindly in my Advent calendar this year. Day 3. When I tasted the pour blind, I absolutely loved it. When I opened the envelope and revealed the pour, to my surprise, I was like, what on earth is that? Well, thanks to Brad from Iowa, I now have a bottle in my hands, and it's gonna get a deep dive review and a score, and possibly a Whiskey of the Year contender? Apparently, Toppling Goliath is a brewery. A goddamn brewery. Goddamn brewery! A brewery known for their beer, but also I suppose that they have a Toppling Goliath Spirits Company, the whiskey company. This first edition has commitment to quality, so you know that they're committed to that. It is Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in port barrels for 60 months, not 16, 60. 5 years. It is a foolproof offering, ringing in at 125 big ones, 62.5% alcohol by volume. And it's aged for 12 years. A 12-year-old cask strength Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in a port barrel for 5 years. The color on it is that of darkness. The color on it is like a wildly dark red. So dark. To the back label we go. Toppling Goliath Whiskey Co. Born from hallowed traditions. Hallowed. Toppling Goliath proudly introduces its first edition release finished in port barrels for 60 months. This limited edition release embodies a bold new era for craft distilling. Each sip unravels a velvet texture with tasting notes that I won't read. The first one was brown sugar. I stopped after that. I did, promise. All anchored by a powerful oak presence, each bottle offers an unforgettable experience meant to be savored, not rushed. Lucky for them, this bottle is in the hands of the slowest man on earth, except for in the bedroom. That should get edited out. Distilled in Kentucky, bottled by Toppling Goliath Spirits Company, Clive, Iowa. I do like the label. The label on it is pretty. It's pretty and kind of like vintage looking. It comes in a wine bottle, so you know it's presentable. But if memory serves me correctly, the real surprise will come once I start smelling and tasting this, because it's good. It is a bit chilled, so I'll let it warm in my tiny porter hands. Tiny porter hands, get it? Tiny porter hands. Well, that's a funny joke. Not really. All right, let's go in for a nose, shall we? Whoa. That smells so good. That is like all the things. That is so dark and chocolate and tart and berry. It's like a chocolate berry compote, like a compote pile. It's in the raisin / date / prune category, but mostly I'm thinking prunes here. It's very prune specific. Wow. Thank you so much, Brad from Iowa, for sending this. This is a treat. Literally a friggin' treat. This reminds me of some of the original Bardstown Bourbon Company collaborative bottles. The fact that this is an old bourbon, the 12-year age statement, really pokes its head out. It's providing a super solid oaky backbone for this port finish to sort of like nestle on, to wrap itself around. It's like if this whiskey were a skyscraper called Goliath, and you wanted nothing to topple it. You would build a strong core in the center of the skyscraper, and that core would be sunk deep into the foundation, deep into the ground, deep into the bedrock. And that foundation, those caissons sunk so deep, provide the ultimate backbone for a super tall skyscraper to be built around. Kind of like this Toppling Goliath 12-year Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished for 60-month in port barrels has a 12-year oak core that the port finish can build upon. It's like the Bourbon Khalifa. From my observation deck, I would say that the nose on this whiskey is friggin' phenomenal. What a view it is. And by view, I mean smell. Now let's put this 12-year to the test. Is it as good as I remember, or is it better or worse? Only one way to find out. Wow. Whoa. Wow. That is just like, whoa. First sip of whiskey for the day too. So it's really beating up my genitals. And by that I mean my mouth. It's really having a solid effect on my taste buds. That is so thick and flavorful. It's like port finished bourbon concentrate. At first it's oaky bourbon, and then the explosion of prunes and raisins and chocolate just take over everything, and you immediately know that what you're tasting is special. This is a special bottle. Whoa. This bottle just reminds me of the Goofy movie soundtrack, because it does stand out above the crowd. Even if I gotta shout out loud. Second sip. Wow. Damn. It really kind of skipped over the oaky bourbon aspect that I was getting on the front of the palate, and it jumped headfirst into the port finished pool. The port finished pool of pleasure, and there is no lifeguard on duty. This Toppling Goliath, I think this is like an $85 bottle. America. Before I score this, I want to say this. If you live in an area where this is distributed, Minnesota, Iowa, wherever the hell they're at, if you come across one in a store, I recommend this pour. Not only do I recommend it, but I recommend it with a stamp of approval. Signed, sealed, delivered, grade A quality friggin'. I wonder if Toppling Goliath could possibly do a single barrel for me. If Toppling Goliath could do a single barrel selection for me of this, I would do weird things. I would probably do a 300-pound backflip, triple axel on hockey skates, stick to landing without breaking any ankles, but severing and rupturing several tendons. For under $100, a whiskey of this quality with that age statement is unheard of. Thanks to the Minnesota Whiskey Elite and their advent calendar, this is something that I'm able to share with you, my audience. If you're watching this, this is what it's all about. Finding something that I've never heard of, that I haven't heard anybody talk about, that is absolutely phenomenal, that I know you will love if you're into this sort of whiskey. So if there are any on shelves out there, there shouldn't be. Toppling Goliath 12 year receives a score from me of 8.6. An 8.6. If you are unfamiliar with my scale, an 8.6 is really, really high. Not a lot of things get into the high 8s. An 8.6 is a huge score. What did I give it blind? Score of 8.4. Blind, I gave it an 8.4. Unblind, I gave it an 8.6. If you want to cut her down the middle, we'll say 8.5. And holy smokes, that's a crazy score for something that I've never heard of before. If you can get your hands on one of these mother buggers, I definitely would, because it's a friggin' powerhouse. A powerhouse of a pour. Thank you so much for watching. That's gonna do it for this video. This video is gonna be terribly hard to edit because it's a very long raw file and just a bunch of blabbering. Those are the worst to edit. Blabber, blabber. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit the thumbs up, damn it. Leave a comment down below. Have you ever heard of Toppling Goliath before? My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds but your mind on sharing things that you find awesome with people you love, or people who you like, or just the general public. But if you watched this video, that means I love you.